architecture is not dying. To start, many professions use the word architecture in their domain. The architecture of the digital world, the architecture of say processes, etc. So seemingly we are hot. So I'm happy to do that, for better and for worse, because architecture is serious.
Yes.
So I still hope with our architecture that I can make Germans smile. Is my personal ambition. And to have I don't say laugh, I say smile.
Okay. Hi everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of PA Talks. Today we're thrilled to have the legendary Winy Maas, the visionary urban planner, co-founder and principal architect of the innovative firm MVRDV. Winy has redefined the contemporary architecture with his daring and innovative designs like Valley, Depot Bojimas, and aspiring Tianjin High Library, earning him a pivotal place in the architectural world. In this episode, recorded at the Heart of Creativity MVRDV House in Rotterdam, we dive deep into some of Winy's most captivating projects. We'll explore intriguing and often controversial discussion around privacy at the iconic Markthal, the creative journey behind the mind-bending designs like Imprint, and the fascinating origins of the Y Factory. Join us as we uncover Winy's insights into the ever-evolving landscape of architecture, the transformations he envisions for the future, and how MVRDV continues to push the boundaries in the industry. Also, you don't want to miss his valuable insights for the young architects. Before moving ahead, let's take a moment and spotlight Pacademy, an online architectural educational platform dedicated to the exploration of parametric design, computational tools, and artificial intelligence in architecture. Pacademy serves as a bridge to advanced design techniques, fostering collaboration with pioneering architects and designers. Through the online courses at the Pacademy, we dive deep into the multifaceted world of computational design, engaging with a wide array of topics that push the boundaries of architecture. You can register and join the live workshops or watch the previous studio workshops recordings. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell notification so you don't miss any new uploads. So if you guys are ready, let's get into the podcast. Okay, great. Thank you so much for having us in MVRDV, and it's a nice office. I see a lot of people in here, and such a vibrant, dynamic, working in an architecture company. So thanks for having us, and welcome to PA Talks.
No, it's great. You have a good subject, so that's nice to participate to that, and it's more important than ever to this whole parametric considerations and research that we, yeah. Otherwise, can we tackle our growing complexities? Yeah.
Thank you so much. So you've been running this practice for more than 30 years, and you've done so many great projects globally, worldwide, and you've been breaking boundaries and going beyond. Since the start, what kind of challenges you had to grow the office as big as this and also do so many projects?
Well, in general, I don't see challenges. So the word, the way how you use it is a bit not so useful, I think. But and challenges are normally there are long-term and small and short-term challenges. Every project which you love, you somehow fight to get because it tries to be in a way innovative, tries to be a little bit already ahead of the time, and that pushes immediately boundaries or conventions that are happening. Conventions over time change. So there is the longer term, say, challenge in that way is then how to somehow work with the transformations over time. And even in 30 years, there's a lot of things have happened. Where you fight for maybe 30 years ago is then normal in 8 years afterwards. So you start to learn a little bit about this transformation process of that's the good part, I think, that you start to learn. Certain things you have to repeat a little bit before it's implemented. Other things have to grow easily or taken over by colleagues also sometimes of the suggestions that come in it, and that help because that makes them more collective. So I always ask a little bit like to students when they think about like 30 years from now, well, look 30 years back, and then you see what we didn't have 30 years ago. That's quite already, no internet, there's no electric vehicles at all. There was no wood structure in high rises. There was no adaptation of plants in buildings, or very limited knowledge on that. There was also no MVRDV 30 years ago, so that could also happen. There was also no, say, high-speed trains, or no specific political regimes that are now also happening. So there is quite a there was not so much knowledge about climate change. So there was not so much, say, participation in democracy was actually less in certain cases, if I would say so. Wow, what can we do in 30 years? That's quite a lot. So already from that point of view, MVRDV could do some things in 30 years, and that's already quite a shopping list. But then that means also, if we mirror that to the future, to the coming 30 years, then you have also an agenda what you can do. So for students, mainly, this is kind of an eye-opener, makes it easier to fantasize.
In MVRDV, you're sometimes doing the projects that are challenging the current norms of architecture and define the conventional methods in architecture. Sometimes critics say this can be dangerous and sometimes polarizing. And for example, yesterday I was in Markthal as well. It's a brilliant project and I enjoyed a lot. We even had we sat there for 2 hours. We had a food as well. It's very, very nice. But also there are issues or concerns about, privacy and if it is suitable to do residential next to a market hall. How are you making sure that all these new things are not questioned by the public and are just answering the needs of the public?
Okay, but one, if we are obstructed by norms only, then we cannot question the norm. So there is, I think, liberty in our, and also progress has always, say, the duty to question norms. Certain things, of course, I'm very democratic, for instance. I will do my buildings more or less. More than 50% of the population like them when you already make them. Let's start with that, because you need to go through procedures. To like the depot, there was some criticism about it, but majority loved it to go on with it. So that's not, why do people love it? And also, some people might be critical on it, or even offensively defensive, but yeah, that has to do with fear, more or less. I have a lot of trust in our society and in the future of our society, and in the, say, the way how that we can deal with changes. That is, I start from there. I do think that also a lot of people are curious about the future. They want to solve problems more than you think in your way how you formulate a question, and that I'm not the only one that also sees that innovation is needed to tackle bigger problems and issues, and that we have to do tests in order to develop the technologies or the necessities to innovate. And that a building is only a building. Come on, it's like the 99%, that's another observation, 99% of the buildings are shit, are like really ugly, or they're like so normative that you fall asleep before you see them. So they have, and the general quality, especially in certain countries, is relatively debatable, let me say the least. And in order to get such a kind of majority somehow be discussed and also be innovated, then this small amount of buildings help a little bit to set or discuss standards, norms, and to test on, say, specific zones. And I think a lot of people know that we need this kind of this buildings to escape a little bit from the predicted norm and from this endless, say, continuity of the sameness that is there, or the continuity of this inescapable and frustrating matter that you call architecture, because most of the things cannot escape from itself, because it was the program, the brief, the norms, the laws, the bylaws, the costs, they all lead to the same kind of product. And that's, so we have to also to invent a culture of inventions and of escapes to do that. So I'm happy to do that, for better and for worse, and there are people that join this operation and others not, and that's fine. And I also appreciate that people talk after our buildings are done, that some like them, others maybe are against it even, or kind of, no, not against, but they don't like them that much. So it's fine, because that's our society. I cannot, if I would please everybody in one go, I would also doubt about myself, because then I didn't go to the edge, or to this kind of frontier, which we have to, where we have to fight for the future. Right. So that is what I hopefully try to do. And the Markthal, I think most of the people love it, because it's like it become a tourist attraction, for better and for worse. I could not. So that I see somehow that a lot of people like it. In a way, the city shows itself as a kind of important beauty of a product of innovation, where buildings, where housing is combined with a public market to stress basically the beauty of a potential market and the need for good food production. Wow, and that there's 250 houses, so there's 500 people that somehow embrace that, are part of that operation. They have their identity because they live in the market hall. That is beautiful, no? Yes, it costs a little bit more for the windows, to have 3 layers of glass, to get the sound and all the oil that comes from the woks that are distributing the grease into the building. Yeah, that has to be filtered out. That's good. But don't forget, those windows are key, because people can look from the house into the market. The developer that owns the market, that is controlled by this 500 people. Huh?
Yeah.
If he changes something, there are 500 complaints or not, or
Yeah.
admirations to it. So it's also an instrument of how to live together and how to do things together. It's also we go. It's not ego only. The developer that does it. Here, this collective somehow manages.
Great. Well, thank you so much on those notes. How do you think the way we do architecture has changed in the last 30 years, from 90s until now? What kind of technologies have emerged, and what was the impact of the current technologies in the way that we do architecture?
I mean, from my perspective, what happens in this 30 years with architecture, and what helped architecture to what it is now, and what also gives it direction for the future, is there are a couple of elements that have developed over time. I think the amount of participation has grown a lot in these 30 years, and that demands much more for architects to be communicative and also somehow decisive, how to bring participation towards a kind of, say, like a direction. The second element, what changed over time, is the innovation in materials, that I would like to say, and I love it, that materials are, it's slow. It was, I mean, the learning curve of material development was, in the beginning, the angle was very low, and then it accelerated over time for many reasons, because of resources that were not there, and because of technical innovation on materials, from, say, glass innovation towards energy innovation and integration in material. The whole world of inertia, say all the concrete, stone-like aggregates, is also not completely there, but is incredibly much more rich than ever before, which means that I can also make more shapes easily to that. And,
Right.
So there is that is, and I think the digital information, or the digital technology, has also grown tremendously to help us on that. especially in design. We can, complex processes like participation, we can help a little bit with computer-aided, parameterized decision-making models to do that. We can guarantee more variety of, say, potential demands in a project. I mean, or we can even make housing that's over complex. We can even not only unravel the complexity, we can enlarge the complexity. So if you want to make an apartment building where every house is different, I can make it for you, okay? And you can talk with your neighbor about it. We mitigate through our, say, our parametric models to find the correct balance to do that. We have an experience in that. 30 years ago, we made the double house in Utrecht. First negotiation between two neighbors. We went to Skidodam to already think about in neighbors and neighborhoods, and we make the book We Go, which parameterizes that completely and leads now also to vertical villages in China. So there is, it took 30 years to get that ping pong game between, say, the software designers and the programmers and us, and we took programmers here in the office. We
developed your own software.
Developed also. I still remember a lot of different kind of relationships we had with programmers over time, from say optimizers, which is an incredible important tool.
Absolutely.
And how to unravel that, to getting rid of the randomizers, because that was like always an escapism in digital thinking, and to hacking, our famous, say, kind of looking to Google Maps and then to say what is green and what is not green. That is kind of hacking of open, you call it differently these days, but that is then what also helped a little bit on understanding what a green city could be. So there is up to the, say, also the development of easy tools. And that we are not computer scientists, but we started, say, with AutoCAD, but became Rhino, went into Grasshopper. We started to blend all these programs here in the office to somehow help to find, say, suggestions that we would like to do to make them work, and to make them like understandable and convincing towards clients. I think the Valley is only built by that kind of tools, where we could negotiate between costs, spans, privacy, water management, wind, hinder and shelter and protection of it, views and non-views, sounds. So you see immediately 10 parameters coming in, if not more.
Which all of them include hundreds of parameters.
And then I add one only, that no balcony is the same. So variety, also, which is a kind of Hertzberger beauty, or also Rem did a lot on it in Parc de la Villette in those old days, now became digitized. And that is, I think, I love that mathematical beauty is for me also a beauty. I mean, at the moment we are making, I mean, for a market of graves, tombs we're making in mainland China. And so every family wants to have his or her own tomb everywhere. So we design them, and we make eternity tombs. So that are about thinking about endlessness. So we do it with fractals. We give everybody some of the fractals. We manipulate them and help them in grain, in size, in variety. So the software creates for every person, say, an infinity tomb. And we add some materials to it, do it in 3D printing. And that is, so here a combination of all these skills. I couldn't have done that 30 years ago. So I think this latest projects show how they fuse. And still I'm not ready. I have to print and unprint or deprint at the same moment. I have to print and mix and aggregate. and it's okay for 2 words, and I have to already bring them in and to get the properties of these material, and then script it. I put that in the scripting of the mouth of the 3D printing, and script it also into the shape that follows it. Beautiful, I think. That's a beauty on itself.
Incredible. Yeah. The Valley project is also Valley project. Actually, they also is it's incredible. We're gonna go to Amsterdam to visit the Valley as well. So yeah, congratulations on great projects. So what is your perspective on the future of technology in architecture? So in the last 2 years at least, that of of a public AI that is emerging, or the kind of AI tools that are emerging in our profession, like Midjourney, like ControlNet, and they're taking some part of our tasks, which is idea generation, and offering incredible amount of opportunities to iterate the design or kind of stuff. Not only on image generation, but also we want to see AI tools in other type of architecture processes as well. What is your vision for the future of AI in architecture?
On AI, I mean, let's start with first. It's a term or an umbrella for much more than where it's sometimes applied for.
Definitely. So it's not only image generation.
And what can we so there are 2 elements which are important. It's input and output. So there's in the input zone we can add more. We can, for instance, train our AI to be more MVRDV, to select it or to blend it in such a way that it follows certain kind of our values, so that's an example of like how training could be done. We add the scripting zone towards AI. I mean, ultimately, I think when we have also an open source AI-oriented recombination of parameters, then I think that would be helpful also that has already a certain kind of complexity, which is beyond, say, the visualization component. It's hopefully it also analyzes immediately the parameters behind it. So it's kind of slipstream coding that comes with it. That's what we try to do a little bit with our why, because I like our scripting for already a long time, from the vertical village to the Barba Papa exercises, because they have all mini scripts, and for any type of relationship that we have to do, and they build up with all their mini scripts. You could say a giant script, scripting program. So it has a track record, of or a genealogy of elements that I like somehow. If we can still trace that in AI, that makes it also doable to control it better. That makes it also doable to see where are the gaps. So for me, that's a fascination in it, and also to make that more accessible as a complexity level. So it's transparency on one hand, that brings it better in, or the whole track record comes in, as well the hope that out of this new recombinations that it becomes better, bigger, more inclusive. So that is what for our office is one of the elements that we would like to target the coming time. Still, does it go fast? That's the Germans have a beautiful word called Jein. So it's ja und nein, yes and no in one word. So yes, it goes quick, and no, it doesn't go quick enough. So because the complexity will becomes bigger in a way. Does it have a success like some of the companies that started with AI? I don't know. I don't care. I'm not a market leader on this, and I do have a personal, say, interest and maybe even obsession to deal with this composition of unraveling complexities, raising complexities, mastering them, and being transparent about it. That is a bit Dutch, you could say.
Yeah. No, great. You also do research and teach in the Y Factory, and I've been following some of the works you've been doing there. And how do you, first of all, if you can explain what you do in the Y Factory, and second, how do you embed all these research-based methods into the projects that are upcoming, or into the current projects that you embed them into the projects that you have?
That's a neat big question. First is the start, why the Y Factory and why MVRDV. We believed, or I believe personally, that it's good to engage in the public domain with research. But why? Because so not to have it in the office only, like OMA did for a while with AMO.
Yeah.
So I thought it's better to enter outside of the office, because there is more resources towards more research budgets are not connected immediately with commercial firms. So you can be also slightly more critical and slightly more open-minded normally. So what is the beauty of the academic world? It should be open-minded. It should not be led by commercial targets only. It should be critical, therefore, and it can explore that domain by nature in a way. That has worked out, that model. So by concentrating first, we concentrate in the academic world on futurism, so to say, in architecture and urbanism. Okay, and so we made a structure for that. So the model cities are about like just an average abstract city. Change one parameter, and what happens then? So happens over time, enormously. The second realm is apply it on cities that we know, where we have relationship with, or what we see as an important element. For the moment, I'm working on a kind of sky city, floating city in the sky as a research. And of course, I have to do it in Los Angeles, in Los Angeles. So we make the new angels that are flying over the city. So that is so we apply it. And third is then the big machine. Say that is where the parametrics come into it, so that they are stored, sometimes related, sometimes not related, because it's impossible to do it. So I call this the triangle of that research that somehow we are following. And it gives us quite a lot of opportunities to, because not everything is sequential, although I say that's important, because if you do a maximized research, the word says it already, it reveals impossibilities or things that lack. So that is still a good, say, sinusoid of our research as a model. Every studio. Oh yeah, one thing, I don't do work with PhDs, because that's too slow.
Yeah.
It's
Only
fantastic.
masters?
Only masters, yeah.
Okay.
And so that is the Y Factory is about that, basically. Well, the word Y Factory, it has two things. It's about argumentation. That's the word Y. Factory is about like speeding up. It's like reproducing and adding up. Y is also a word that's very existential. It's the key element of existence theory. So, and I think that is what it touches. Your first question was about that. Criticism beyond the norm. So it's very existential. People believe in the existence of the norm. I'm more in a flux, to be honest, because I know that the existence changes over time, although there are limitations. The planet, yes, etc., are that. So that's what does it affect the office? Ideally, I would say, it's yes and no again, because on one hand, the program of the Y Factory is independent, because it needs to be. I don't want to. There are some architects that ask always to their students, make an opera for me, and in somewhere in Chengdu, and they do the Chengdu opera. That's not I think that's not a good idea, this combination. Yeah. So the academic world is research by nature, by itself, and it has to be as academic and as far as, say, also scientific. And no, with masters you cannot do complete science, and I do a kind of science fiction to span the gap between that, and I'm honest in that. I will show it, but that's the beauty of that part. But of course, it influences our work. That model that you see here, vertical village, is done by students, and yes, now we make one in in Shenzhen. So there is it takes 10 years longer in that way, and the students that worked on that or has done it, I'm co-authors of that of it, and I hope to give them as much credits as it. Are there patents? Not really. No. I wished I could more concentrate on the patent part, but that is my time is limited.
Yes, yes. No, great works you're doing, and I'm following the Y Factory and the publications as well. Great publications. I'm happy and a huge fan of what you do in the Y Factory. Talking about cities and urban spaces, most of the projects that are being built these days, it's not designed and planned by architects, and probably it's in the global scale, if we can measure it, it's maybe 3-4% of the projects done by architects. What is the vision for a built environment to get better? We can build better environments.
Wow. When you touched upon the planetary scale, which I think is a phenomenon that comes across much more since 30 years. So the planetary scale requires overview and requires that architects position themselves in that planetary scale. And when you make a kind of house in a countryside somewhere, anyway, the knowledge beyond every countryside has also has issues that play a role in this planetary scale. Just to give an example, the Dordogne in France, this cute corner somewhere in the world, is drying out, has no water, partly because of the soil, and partly because of the wine industry. And so you make a villa there. So what's the task? Okay.
Yeah.
So immediately, everything you do has a kind of a relationship at a wider scale. I think that's what MVRDV tries to do a little bit, and that the Y Factory does it immediately on a bigger scale. So and I think it's fascinating to address that and to see what that means. This relationship on the because on one hand it limits maybe you or the positions your work of the architect, and he or she becomes also immediately planetary, connected to that intervention in that specific moment in time and place. And on the other hand, there is also a need for this kind of research on the planetary level. So that means that we have to scale up also in our research to see, if I say, okay, good to cover buildings with plants, I have to calculate the effect. And I'm happy that I can say, okay, 1 degree, so what would it give in cooling, for instance, on the planet, if we cover all the flat roofs with it? Well, I would say substantial, no?
Yes.
To do that. I have to do more, but that's to do it. But that is, that's what I love in these days. You touched upon that subject. This combination is ping pong between the two scales. I think that's in an unstable world. We need to work on that a little bit more.
Yeah, hopefully. Last 2 questions that I've got, not to take much of your time. What is a good architecture? How do you define a good architecture?
For me, again, is and maybe is an architecture that says something, that wants to deal with bigger issues, that manifests that, so makes it understandable and readable for the outer world, for non-architects, for laymen, for people that can, to make it readable and to make it, it's an architecture that is also somehow free. It is an architecture that relativates, also brings by its positioning, and also is not a dictatorship or something like that, but is like trying to mitigate and find a way on this global, say, messaging on that way. So I like good architecture has also a certain kind of humor, but humor is very delicate because you can. It is almost an issue that you cannot do because architecture is serious.
Yes.
So I still hope with our architecture that I can make Germans smile. Is my personal ambition, and to have I don't say laugh, I say smile.
Okay.
So that is because then you, in a serious country like that, you get the kind of like
Yes.
that helps also in a way of yeah, that the position, because big and small scale, the relative is an important word for that. So relativation. I know I can only do small things with my buildings.
Yes.
This is not big, but to give it a twist, that opens up, I think, also people's minds, and that makes it more. I never use the word populistic. I know there's an edge there, but pop, I'm very fine with it.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of fun projects from MVRDV as well, like colorful, fun, playful geometries, which adds a lot to the...
Playful, but it's not naive. Huh?
Yeah, no, it's not.
Playful is a dangerous word, because if you can
Not
say
naive, but yeah, where you can interact with this geometry.
yes,
You can enjoy architecture. It's not like becoming
playfulness
very...
is the moment that you escape. That's
Yeah.
from the norm. Or I think if an architecture can have the ability that at moment X, somewhere in the process, it sees that it might be obstructed, and then you come up with an escape from that. That is the playful moment in architecture. And if you can it can recognize that when it's there as an outcome, that I think is inspiring.
It is. It is. Like my reference is in this case is the Imprint project. Yeah. It's very good to be around those buildings. Also the Tianjin library. It's very, very unique way of using these geometries in this way. So yeah, congratulations on great projects.
With Imprint, let's give a word to that. You can still kick it out of the conversation, don't worry. Okay. But it's like when we were asked to make a casino and a nightclub, then if you go to many places where you have this, say Vegas, etc., then during the day there are boxes, and then decorated, etc. And you have no clue where you are. In the night, yes, it's vibrant and colorful and everything becomes alive. But during the day, you don't want to be there. So how to do that in this case on an airport in Seoul, and to see that, and the family made a hotel there, Paradise City, and then make something that stands out. I said, no. You have first to make a good neighborhood. And what do you mean by a good neighborhood? A place where your hotel guests, after you are drunk and in the morning at 12 o'clock, of course, when they wake up, that they go around and they don't get a kind of nightmare, or that they then start to be pleasant. So what does it mean? Then he asked me. No, your buildings are nice, so let's copy them in a way. But then not in a kind of direct way, but an indirect way. That's when they are imprinted in our buildings, then they go together. So you walk there during the day, you see, hey, I'm in a place, I'm in something which is not like somewhere else. I accept that kind of qualities of the place. And that was how it started up, as a kind of this kind of yin-yang or positive-negative combination to in accepting an architecture that is not my architecture as actually the source of my architecture. That was what we did. And of course, then you lift it here and there to dramatize then the entrances of this nightlife. And that is then more we didn't do. Of course, it had millions of different panels in a specific type of GRC, so we had to do a lot of computation work
to specify all of them.
To specify every panel for them, and then so that's where such a kind of simple suggestion is with these two factors that you add, like do the negative and do the and do the bending of it when you want to have openings. That created this. I think richness in the end of the site.
It does. I hope we could see more projects like this in the world, all over around us, maybe. And yeah, Imprint is really one of the projects I enjoyed. When it published a couple of years ago, Oh, wow. What is this? Yeah, congratulations on the great
You should
stuff.
go there. Just walk in the street.
Yeah, we will. We will. Just to close the conversation, what kind of advice would you share with the young talents and emerging architects?
One, I think architecture is not dying. To start, many professions use the word architecture in their domain. The architecture of the digital world, the architecture of say processes, etc. So seemingly we are hot. Secondly, because we do, I think we are the profession can be good in analysis and in structure somehow, or giving structure or changing structure of it. Second role of our architects are super good in visualization. So they're the visualizers of the future. So use that tools, not only in a kind of cliche, because AI at the moment is cliche and limited because it uses all the same data basically in it. So, but in order to visualize what is happening and what can happen on our planet is what they can do. And thirdly, I think architects are the ones that have a kind of overview of the spatial situation of cities and the world. So they can integrate or not integrate, can exaggerate or non-exaggerate. They can create and put, say, criticism into these observations, what the world needs. And that goes from the technical to the climatic, to the social, to the political domain. And yes, architects are also political. So they have also the possibilities to think about those values and can warn politicians with all these tools on what the future of the city can be. I think that our universities have to train them in these kind of 4 or 5 aspects that I just put in, beside all the technological components that is embedded in it. And that will lead hopefully to a group that mirrors the planet in the best way, and that mirrors our behaviorism, and that creates escapes and possibilities beyond the norm.
Well, thank you so much for the conversation. Appreciate your time.
I'm looking forward to your cutting, to your final cut. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It
See you
was
later.
a very nice conversation. Great. Guys, thank you so much for watching the episode. I hope you enjoyed it a lot. Again, I want to spotlight Academy, an online architectural educational platform that spreads the idea of using parametric design, computational tools, and artificial intelligence in architecture. You can register and join the live workshops or watch the previous studio workshops recordings. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss any new uploads. Thank you so much for watching the episode. Hope to see you soon in the future episodes.